All right, welcome to Dandelion TV. I am Ricky Warden, also known as DandelionChef for many years. Welcome to Dandelion TV, our very first live interview. Mark Vorderbruggen, Ph.D. What a pleasure it is to have you here, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me. Anyone that's a friend of Dandelion's is a friend of mine.
Absolutely. And, we go back a ways just as me following you on the social media. So I want to congratulate you up front for everything that you've done to bring all the information to the masses that you have about foraging.
I'm just doing what I was put here to do. I think we
All right. Well, let's talk
lost
about that
connection
then.
with nature, and I'm trying to reconnect people the way our ancestors knew it.
Yep, that's right. That's your Texas foraging here. Know what your ancestors knew. So that's your tagline.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead and take us back to the beginning, if you don't mind, just for anyone that doesn't know about you. Introduce yourself, and most specifically, how did you get into the science, the actuality of foraging?
Okay, I'm going to do a George Lucas here and start in the middle, go
Beautiful.
forward some, and then jump way back. So in 1997, I moved down to Texas and I started a blog devoted to hiking and camping in Texas because at the time there wasn't much on the internet of where to do these things. And in this blog, I also talked about some of the edible plants and mushrooms and medicinal plants and mushrooms that I was finding, to the point where people started contacting me and saying, "Hey, we're going camping next weekend. Will you come with and teach us about all these edible plants and stuff around us?" It's like, yeah, sure, let's do that. 2004, the Houston Arboretum contacted me. They said, "Hey, we hear you teach wild edible, plant classes. Will you do one for us?" And it's like, sure, why not? Let's do it. Did one in the fall of 2004, two in the spring of 2005, and then it became a monthly class up until COVID hit. But in that time, it exploded. The
Right.
Foraging Texas website, www.foragingtexas, I created that to help. At the time, I was just saying this will be a little resource that the students that take my classes can go back and refresh themselves, not realizing the hunger for this knowledge. And from there, this exploded into books and TV and radio and podcasts and magazines and all this sort of stuff. So it was not something I was expecting. It just kind of happened, and I just let it happen to me, and here we are. But where it all begins was way back in Minnesota, where I was born. I was born in a small farming community in central Minnesota. On the east side of town, it was all woods, pretty much all the way to Wisconsin. And on the west side of town, it was prairie out to the Rockies. And so we are right in the middle of this really diverse ecosystem.
Beautiful.
Both my parents were children of the Great Depression. And so one of the ways all the farming communities and all the little people back then got through that troubled time was through knowledge of wild edible plants.
Yeah.
What they could eat that they didn't have to pay for. And so just to add to this, my older brother is 10 months older than me. My younger brother is 13 months younger than me. So my parents quickly figured out the only way they were going to survive the three of us was if they took us out in the woods every day and ran us ragged. And so while we were out there, they said, "Oh, here, you're hungry, eat this, or eat that, or rub this on your scratch there, you'll be fine." And so it was just part of my upbringing, what you could eat, what you could use for medicine out there. And so it
Yeah.
just seemed like, everyone should know this. Why is my upbringing any different than anyone else's? So at the same time, well, to go back even farther, let's go back even farther. You are born knowing you're going to be a scientist. By age 3, I was completely, enamored by science and space and everything. And my plan
Yeah.
was to be an astronaut. Turns out they have a height limit, though. Uh, I am 6'5". You cannot be over 6'3" if you want to be an astronaut, because they just don't make the spacesuits and the spacecraft large enough for that. So that happened when I was around
No
15.
size 15 boots.
Yep. That's just scrunched in the little cap. No, it don't work. It don't
Yeah.
work. You know, we got the Space Center Houston here in Houston, and they have mock-ups of these different spacecraft, and it's like you squeeze in. It's like even with yoga, I'm not getting in here. Maybe a whole can of Crisco, but that has its own problems in space. Anyway, so I couldn't be an astronaut. What's the next step? Well, I thought, well, at the time, my grandfather was very ill with cancer, and so I decided I should become a pharmaceutical scientist. And so my plan then was to, work for like Pfizer or Mondera or something. So I got a master's in medicinal chemistry, a Ph.D. in physical organic chemistry. So not making molecules, but taking the molecules man and God had already created and figuring out which one you need to disturb a system to get the results you want.
Got it.
And so I did that. It was great. Of course, the medical industry was not interested in, the plants, because that's what I was focusing on, the natural products. What do snails have? What do sunflowers have? What's available? What nature has already solved so many problems. So why not take what nature has figured out and apply it to our...
Why not? It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, you got 4.5 billion years of evolution, doing the research for you. It was, I'm kind of lazy, and so it just seemed like the easiest way of doing things, but it worked great. But like I said, unfortunately, the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry had no interest in that at the time.
Oh, that's right. Big pharma, grocery brokerage, the competition to foraging.
But that's what led me to Houston, because it turned out, whereas the pharmaceutical industry wasn't interested in natural products and nature's chemicals, the oil industry was. They were really trying to revamp their image and become much more environmentally friendly. And so I spent 19 years in the oil industry developing natural-based products to help get oil and gas out of the ground. So that got me 16 patents on that.
Like mushrooms? What kind of natural elements did you patent to remove oil? Do you mind me asking? That's very interesting.
So when you are drilling an oil well, so you drill a hole, you put a pipe in it, then you pump cement down through the pipe and out the outside to seal off the formation. So, and then you just do this in like a telescope. You do it in sections farther and farther. One of the issues with that is that the cement, if you're pumping cement down 5 miles and back up to the surface, it wants to set on you. And you have to control viscosity. You have to control set time. You have to control water loss. You have to control all these features to make sure that the cement goes down and comes back up the other side and doesn't seal that pipe in the center. So if you ever saw, I tell people, if you want to know the oil industry, go watch the movie Deepwater Horizon about the oil rig that blew up in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I've watched it, how they capped it.
Yep. So one of the issues...
Some of that your technology?
No. Well, okay, so after it was all done, the company that I worked for at the time was the ones that got it under control and sealed it.
Really? Okay.
I was in, Baker Hughes.
You saved the Gulf of America.
I was in. We got as much as we can.
I'm just having fun.
I was in what they call the Skunk Works group. Which was, for those of you who don't know, Little Abner, the cartoon from way back in the Depression and through the 50s. Skunk Works was their secret lab where he developed all sorts of weird stuff. And so with my knowledge, they put me in that to develop weird stuff for the oil industry. Long story short, the problem was when you add one additive to the cement, it screws up all the other additives. And so you're constantly juggling, trying to get everything just right. And humans are fallible. And they screwed it up. They had a complicated formula. They didn't do it right. They mixed something wrong and kablooey. So I was tasked with, okay, we need to simplify this. We need to have a single product that does the water retention, does the delaying, does the accelerating, does all these different things you need get the cement down and back up. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Tree bark. Well, not just tree bark, but tree wood.
Okay.
Lignin, cellulose, very complicated molecules with very dynamic structures that can be modified to change at different temperatures and different times at different temperatures. And long story short, now they mix basically this modified wood pulp in with the cement.
Okay.
And it works great.
Wow. Congratulations, man.
Yeah. My favorite patent was actually making cement downhole where it's needed using an enzyme from a African edible bean called a jack bean. And urea, basically urine. So the jack bean, there's an enzyme in it that eats the urea, produces carbonate ions, which react with calcium, which form calcium carbonate, which is basically cement and limestone. And so you can make these structures, you mix it all together, you mix the like just gravel or sand, coarse sand, with the enzyme and just soak it down with urea, which is DEF fluid, the stuff that you got to put in the diesel trucks now. Yeah. The DEF, the diesel emissions fluid. That's just aqueous urea. But the end result is a solid block of whatever in the shape that the sand was in. What was really cool is when NASA contacted me and said, hey, we're interested in using this to the lunar colonies to seal up the tunnels. Can we just bring this up there, and urea and the jack bean enzyme and spray it along the tunnels? Unfortunately, it does not make it airtight. It'll make it liquid tight, but not airtight. And so you would still get some leakage. So at this point, I don't really know what's going on there. And you seem to be gone. Whoop.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, it did freeze up, but I came back. Hey, check it out. In the comments, Mark, we have a hello. Do you know Kim a lot? We have Kim a lot. Tree bark and cement. So thank you, Kim a lot. She's actually listening.
Cool. Yeah.
That Another is thing very interesting. And so when you moved to Texas, you basically came here for the job. Is that correct?
Well, I came here figuring Houston has a lot of chemistry.
Yeah.
And a low cost of living. And I had been living in New York for 7 years and South Dakota for 4 years and Minnesota for 16, 18 years before that. I was done with the cold. I have a special badge from the Boy Scouts up in Minnesota for camping out in a -50 wind chill for a weekend. It was that weekend when I decided I am moving someplace with palm trees.
Yeah, you and Ted Nugent both.
Yep. And so I moved down to Texas. 2 weeks later, I was hired by the oil industry, and it's like, let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right. And so at what point there did you turn towards foraging and putting together the website? Because that was the first thing you did, was put together the Foraging Texas website.
Yeah. So that actually came about in 2004 then, when I started, after the Houston Arboretum had contacted me to teach the classes. So I had the blog before then where I talked about, hiking, backpacking, and things I was finding out there when I was doing that.
Yeah. So you had the blog, you put together the website, and then sometime after that, this wonderful StreamYard technology came along. Yep. And that's how I discovered it, was watching you on both my TV in my living room and on my phone at the same time. You were simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, that was the donut shop at the beginning of the world.
Yes.
And that was something I created right at the beginning of COVID, when they were shutting everything down and telling people you can't be around other people. We are a herd animal. We need people around us. That's why in prison, the worst thing they can do is put you in solitary confinement. Right. And I knew this was going to just drive people nuts. And so I did what I could and set up a morning check-in where we all just get together for 45 minutes and hang out and talk and laugh and joke and make sure everyone's doing okay. And away we go.
And
And
you
then
did
before,
it. Congratulations. You were definitely at the forefront of, supplying to the tribe, man. Your people, we're out here, I don't know how many of us there are and how we all get in the same spot at the same time, but you did it.
there were thousands. It was astounding. Yeah. That on my gravestone, I want, he had a donut shop. But it was a virtual donut shop. But hey,
Well,
it's
do you
still
mind me asking, just tie it up real quick? How did that come to an end? And then is there any chance of you doing a everyday live stream in the future?
okay. So I will say, doing it every day for 2 years was very draining.
Yep.
Uh, and at that time, the COVID was starting to be shut down. They were, at least here in Texas, they were allowing people to get together again in person. And so I thought about it. So let's go back a little bit,
Okay.
and where the concept, I mean, I told you how it came about to connect people. The reason it was called the donut shop at the beginning of the world goes
Yeah.
back to my parents. So I mentioned my older brother, my younger brother, and me. So my older brother lives up in Alaska. My
Okay.
older brother lived out in Kentucky for a number of years, and I
Right.
was down in Texas. And my folks would just drive from Minnesota up to Alaska, to Kentucky, down to Texas, and spend weeks and months at a time with each of us throughout the year.
Awesome.
And everywhere they were at, they always found a donut shop where they would hang out in the morning, because every donut shop has a table off to the side where a bunch of senior citizens get together and just BS for 2 hours, 3 hours.
It's
And
true.
so all across North America, because they'd always stop at the same towns when they were driving, and they just got into all these donut shops. They were part of the social groups at all these donut shops across North America.
Wow.
So I just
Curiosity
really
confirmed.
loved that. I'm sorry.
Curiosity confirmed. I always wondered if that was just in Texas, because in Texas, it's every donut shop in the morning. You have people
Yep.
sitting around the
No,
table and they meet
it's
every morning with their donuts and coffee.
Yep, it's every donut shop across North America. And so, it seemed like,
What a
okay,
great
that's
idea.
great. Let's do it. And so I harnessed that energy to fuel the donut shop at the beginning of the world. 2 years, every day, every morning. And then, like I said, the things started opening. They started allowing us to rejoin each other. And at that point, I made the decision, I need to step back. But I asked everyone who would attend, your job is to find a real life donut shop gathering place. You need to go out, and if you can't find one, you need to start one.
Okay.
So I've shown you how to do it. Go forth and connect people to people.
Wow.
And it's
Beautiful.
just going to make things better. So, and it seemed to work some. There were different people, showing me pictures of them with their donut shop in, Nacogdoches and Kerrville. And unfortunately, that one's probably having problems. And just places like that, because it went forth and people started reconnecting, because that was something for 2 years we were, it was like verboten, no being in the same place. I miss it. It was a lot of energy. I keep thinking, I have like the anniversary of the day it started and the day it ended pop up on my calendar every year, just as a reminder. We'll see. Like I said, a lot of things are in flux right now. But once they stabilize, I don't foretell the future. I just let the future roll in, and I try and kind of ride the wave with it.
Well, I
I saw
appreciate you
something.
riding the wave with us here at Dandelion TV, because what you have done for our Texas community — I was born and raised in Texas — is phenomenal. So thank you very much for everything you've done. Thanks for waving on through here, brother. We got Grandpa Terry saying hello.
Howdy, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. And then Kim Alotz says, when will you have an outdoor foraging class in the Sam Houston Natural Forest?
Okay, so basically, when I can find an organization to host me, the issue with these classes, and it's probably not hard to believe, the insurance
Wow.
is insane. When you tell people, I'm going to take people out into the woods and feed them things we find out there,
Wow.
the insurance doesn't want anything to do with it.
Liability.
So yeah, so I have to rely on the insurance of the different host organizations.
Yeah.
So that's the thing there. And
All right. That's a hard truth. You know, the old saying used to be, if it doesn't make sense, there's a buck in it. The aughts, the 20 aughts has been, if it doesn't make sense, there's a liability in it. And here it is right here with something as natural as just foraging. And what you do, you know, yes, you teach, but you know, you're just vibing along and sharing and enjoying your time with others more than you are, you know, teaching a class.
Yes. And so coming up in the fall again, once it cools off, I will be at Blackwood Land Estate, which is up in Magnolia. I'll be at the San Jacinto Battleground Monument. They bring me in there, trying to get things set up again with Caddo Mounds Historic Site, different places in the East Texas area.
Okay, and where is that calendar at?
That's on the Foraging Texas website. So www.foragingtexas.com. At the top, there is upcoming classes and also request a class. So if you're part of an organization that wants to bring me in and reconnect you all to nature, that's everything you need to know to do that.
Right, so here it is.
Unfortunately, Google still puts in the ads over
here to see what's going on.
Yeah, just click that box at the top. Get rid of that.
Was that an ad or something?
Yeah, that's
all right, so to keep the site up, I'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and give us a quick tour now that I have it pulled up here, and tell everybody what to do, how we can find you, and how we can book your classes.
If you scroll down, you'll see on, well, your left, a list of plants. It's organized by trees, weeds, wildflowers, vines, mushrooms. So you can start trying to figure out what plant you have just by scrolling down on the left side of it. There's also a little search box up at the top, and you can search like, pink flower, 5 petals, or purple fruit, or vine, red berries, things like that to try and zero in on what it is. Up across the top, which we don't seem to have anymore, is like the tips on becoming a forager, the upcoming classes. There's a link to my Amazon store. I have recommended stuff for people who spend time in the wild or on the road or wherever. But yeah, you can see here. So the plants and mushrooms are on the left. You can search by different characteristics on the right, and below it is the upcoming classes. So right now I only have one thing on there, and that is a introduction to 10 edible mushrooms. Oh, yeah, you just have to scroll. Yeah, close that.
It's what I'm doing. As I scroll, it's scrolling through the pictures.
Yeah, click on the little, there we go. Just scroll down on the far right, not the pictures themselves. Can I? No, I can't. Dancing for your pleasure while we get this back up.
Man, I apologize. Thank you very much for bearing with me. I have never had StreamYard do this to me before.
They probably updated it, which messes everything up.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of there in case it had something to do with that site. And then we have Grandpa Terry here again. I have a question. What to use to detoxify your gallbladder? Asking for a friend.
All right. So all detoxification occurs in the liver. And so if your liver is functioning, it's going to help prevent the toxins from building up in the gallbladder. The gallbladder is responsible for a number of digestive juices and enzymes. And so you want to stimulate your liver. And the best thing for that by far is burdock root. And with Medicine Man Plant Company, I actually do have the liver pill, which helps protect, support, maintain the liver, and speeds up its action. However, I will say, as of Friday, my time with Medicine Man will be coming to an end. And so, yeah, there's that. But yeah, if you just go to an herb shop or Amazon or online, I like mountainroseherbs.com, mountainroseherbs.com. They have some of the purest, highest quality herbs you can buy. And so the burdock root, you can just eat it or take it as a tea. In addition to that, you want your dandelion, because the dandelion is a very potent diuretic.
Thank you.
And so it will flush the toxins from your body. Your liver, just go say, so you want to make sure you're giving your liver what you need to detoxify. 2 egg yolks a day will give you the thiols you need that the liver slaps on the compounds that tells the kidneys, okay, filter this out, send it to the bladder, get it out of the body in the urine.
Okay.
And so you have the burdock root, you have your 2 egg yolks, and you have the dandelion, and the combination of all that working together is going to really flush things out and keep you
Now,
clean.
are you referring to raw egg yolks, or?
No, go ahead and cook them. They're fine. Even
Okay.
after cooking, they'll still lightly cook them. Like, don't, like a runny yolk, hot.
Yeah, sunny side over. Sunny side up.
Like that.
Sunny
Best.
side up.
Yep.
Here I have some information on liver support. Dandelion greens have been traditionally used to support liver health. Research suggests that they may protect the liver from oxidative stress and promote healthy lipid levels.
Yep. The dandelions, all parts of them have all sorts of compounds which are known as antioxidants. And the way to think about an oxidant is a hand grenade. It's something that really wants to damage your body. And the antioxidants are perfectly designed to grab onto and smother them, containing the explosion, kind of like Captain America throwing himself on a hand grenade. That's what the antioxidants do. They throw themselves on the free radicals, the oxidizing agents in your body, and prevent them from damaging the other parts of your body. Pretty cool mechanism. Nature is amazing.
Back just as quick as I can be. My goodness, I've never had that happen ever once. So I apologize there.
So just before we started this, a storm came through and knocked my power out for like 3 minutes. And I was like, oh, crap. How are we going to do this? I have to do it on my phone, but it came on just in time. Hey, he's back. Putting your invisibility cloak on.
We got Grandpa Terry. Thank you for the info.
Yep.
So what keeps you the busiest these days?
The ever-loving hustle to try and find more places to teach. Yeah. That's the big thing. And then just answering people's questions. It's an endless parade of emails and DMs. Can I eat this? And sending me a picture of a plant or a mushroom, and trying to help people, trying to connect people to nature.
Yeah. Well, and we all genuinely appreciate that, because one of my first connections with you is I sent you a picture of the Texas wild.
Yeah, the wild lettuce. You sent me that. Yeah, I get a lot of emails every day from people. Here's a tip: if you're going to send me an email or send me pictures of a plant, send me multiple pictures. Send me like a full picture. Send me a close-up of like 4 or 5 leaves so I can see how they're arranged. Any other identifying characteristics like a a flower or a fruit or even the bark. All those things help me identify it. With a mushroom, I want to see a picture of the top looking down at the cap, a side view so I can see any structures underneath the mushroom and on the stipe, and then upside down so I can see how the gills are running and where they are in relationship to the stipe and all that. So if you want me to identify a mushroom, at least 3 pictures: top, side, and underneath.
Man, can you simplify mushroom identification? Because I don't know every, I'm not a forager like you. I came across dandelion 30 years ago so that I could keep from having a knee replacement. I started consuming it for calcium, magnesium, had no idea about all the other health benefits. But I know about many, like I eat henbit, curled dock, a lot of different just herbs that grow or foods that grow a lot. But I'm still scared to death of mushrooms. And I don't know why. It's just that 1 or 2 that could kill me or make me sick. So can you simplify it for us scaredy cats? Is that possible?
Not. So what I'm going to recommend is sign up for my class on June 22nd through the link. You can either attend in person in Old Town Spring at the House of Spice, but it will also be live streamed like this. And I'll be covering the 10 best edible mushrooms in Texas. Well, America, basically the Southeast. So basically Texas all the way to Florida. That are the easiest to identify, and I will walk you through all the parts that you have to look at and confirm that are edible. So there are lots of edible mushrooms. We're only talking about 10 that are really, really easy to identify and can be used in all sorts of ways. So
excellent. What a great idea. Well, I'll keep up with that on your social medias and be sure to watch it and then share it over here so that we can get as many people over there as possible. Again, I really appreciate that. And then what about your tincture classes? Are you still doing that? Have you been doing a lot of those over the last couple of years?
I have done a lot of those. Again, COVID, when they stopped, the people gathering together, put a kibosh on those. I'm in conversations with some different places to bring them back. It's very resource intensive because most places they want me to supply everything, from the bottles, the alcohol, the eyedroppers, the weight, everything like that. And so it's a lot of work, but yeah, they will return once I can get some place. This is something ideally where you have an outside area where we can gather some different stuff, and then an inside place with electricity that we can actually make the tinctures. So,
okay, excellent.
Yeah, and then the cooking classes, same thing.
And so all of that, anybody watching can just go to your website, foragingtexas.com, and contact you there to schedule you for tincture classes, cooking classes, foraging classes.
Yep. And I can do like private ones in the Houston area because that's within a reasonable driving thing. But if I have to go beyond that, I saw Grandpa Terry, you're up in Fort Worth. It's a little trickier. Oh, okay. Cool.
There he is. He's up in Fort Worth. What's up here?
I was just contacted by the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens.
Really? Nice.
So we'll see there. And then in the past, I had been doing stuff with Texas Survival School up in Allen, Texas, up on the northeast side of Dallas. Then I had to take about half a year off just because a lot of things are going on with the family graduations and stuff. And there was a lot of, I wanted to spend time with my kids while I still had them for the last few days.
Yes, sir. Hallelujah to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the babies are first, man. I love the children more than anything else. So respect to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, man, it's an exciting time. You know, it's summertime. The bees are buzzing, the birds are chirping, love is in the air. I did want to reach out to Terry here and ask him, when you say a lot of us folks up here, is there an organization that you're a part of? Are you do you have a mushroom group or anybody like that that you want to share with us here? And then he says, I got me some dandelion leaves for tea, which what is your opinion on the ways to consume dandelion?
You asking me or Terry?
I guess I should have rephrased that as in, hey, Dr. Mark Merriwether,
Okay.
can you
You
recommend
know, you never make
ways to
assumptions.
consume dandelion for health consumption?
Yeah, dandelion tea is fantastic. The trick, well, okay, so the minerals, the flavonoids, a lot of the antioxidants, all those are water soluble, are not going to be destroyed by heat. The one thing that you will lose when you are normally to make the tea, let the leaves dry, put them in a cup, pour boiling water over them, let them sit for 10 minutes. During that time, the vitamin C is pretty temperature sensitive. Above 180 degrees, it basically starts breaking apart very quickly. So you're going to have to take some sort of vitamin C source in addition to the tea. But all the great, the potassium, the calcium, the iron, the manganese, the magnesium, vitamins A and K, and all the others are going to be in there and doing what you need them to do in your body. So something I've found or noticed is a lot of people don't know how to properly prepare or what to do with the plant once they harvested it.
Yeah, sure.
So Terry, if you harvest the leaves green, what you want to do, and this is with any leaf or root. Flowers are different. Flowers you can just use as is, they're great. But remember, plants have a cell wall. It's a hard, rigid structure, and all the good chemicals are inside there and they can't get out. So if you just take the green leaves and put them in the hot water, all that good stuff is going to stay trapped in there. It's not going to come out. Very little of it's going to come out. You can chop it up, mash it up, grind it up, but you have to rupture every cell. And when you do that, you may as well make a smoothie out of it at that point.
Which is not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all. Especially with some other antioxidants and stuff from the blueberries and strawberries. But anyway, but if you're trying to make a tea from that, the resultant plant sludge will block whatever you're using to try and strain out the plant material. And so you're just going to get, green mud and a little bit of drippy water underneath. If you want to use leaves or roots as a tea or a tincture or infused in oil, anything where you want the stuff inside the cells to easily escape and enter the fluid that you're using to extract, you want to air dry the leaves for 2 to 3 weeks. And what I mean by air dry is if your house does not look like a witch's workshop, you're doing it wrong. You want to have bundles of the leaves hanging somewhere inside the house out of direct sunlight. So in a shady place, cool, ideally even with a fan blowing on them. And when a plant dies, the last thing it does is go, I need to give all this stuff back to the earth.
Yeah.
So it triggers an enzyme whose purpose is to start chewing holes through the cell walls.
Wow.
And as those cells get big enough and the water evaporates out of them, once the water is gone, that enzymatic action has stopped. So you've made plant jerky, but now every one of those cells has those holes in it. So when you put it in the water, the ethanol, the bear fat, there's escape routes for the stuff to come out. So after 2 weeks, and the plant is brittle and dry and it's at its maximum point, that's where you want to crumble it up into pea-sized pieces, store it in a glass container, airtight glass container, because oxygen is your enemy. Sunlight is your enemy. That's why the old medicine bottles and stuff were either blue or amber. It's
Yep.
just to protect the contents inside from sunlight or the LED lights we all have in our houses now. So once you do that, the plant material, it's good for 3 years, you know. And then from that, you take out, you know, a tablespoon, pour 8 ounces of boiling water over it, put a cap on your mug to keep everything that's volatile still in there. Let it sit for 10 minutes. It's going to be bitter. Here's a trick to help. Now, there's several tricks. So one of the ways of dealing with the bitterness of things like dandelion roots, wild lettuce, is you want to mix it with something sour. The tongue has a really hard time reading bitter and sour at the same time. And sour, like 99.5% of the people, sour overrides the bitter. So if you can deal with sour, so like apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, something like that, and then a little bit of honey in there will help mellow out the bitterness from the dandelion leaf. And then drink it down. Do that once, twice a day.
Now, what's your opinion of consuming dandelion leaves raw?
Go for it. Same sort of thing. It's going to be bitter. Actually, on the Foraging Texas website, there is guidelines or tips on how to eat the bitter greens.
Yes.
So I mentioned mixing it with something sour. So some of the more like wood sorrel and dandelion greens. But one of the big things is you want to dilute down the dandelion greens. So chop it up and mix it with more bland greens. If you're a forager like me, things like wild lettuce, wood sorrel, goldenrod leaves, chickweed, things like that you can throw in there and just dilute it down. Cat's ear, Japanese hawkweed, a few others, mulberry leaves, maple leaves, grape leaves, all those chopped up in a salad or coleslaw. That is really good.
How about that? That's why you're here, man.
Yeah.
That's why you're here, Mark Merriwether. You know, I'm just a simplistic guy. For me, everything's about efficiency. So I've just been eating the baby green leaves. That's what I eat. And, you know, I encourage people that if you're looking, you know, for something that doesn't change your entire lifestyle, but you would like to consume dandelion, that's one way. And that's how I've done it for 30 years. I just go out and pick the baby dandelion leaves and clean them off and eat them.
Yep. And that's actually part of the whole reproductive cycle. And I've just another thing I love explaining to people.
Thank you.
So dandelions and a lot of similar weeds like that, they use what I refer to as the sacrificial brother-sister method of survival. So, you know, when a dandelion head is mature, it has hundreds of those seeds that it disperses in the wind. And if you let it, you will get lots and lots and lots of dandelion plants, because the dandelion evolved in a place with lots of herbivores, and it knows that things are going to come along and eat it. The rabbit's going to eat the leaves, the deer's going to eat the leaves, you and I are going to come along and eat the leaves. And so during that time in the early growth, it just goes, okay, you get eaten, you get eaten, you get eaten, so that I may live. And at the time, there's still going to be some bitterness in the leaves, because it doesn't just completely want to be eaten. But once the flower appears and opens up and it almost immediately gets pollinated, at that point, it is in mama bear mode. And it goes, okay, I am pregnant. You are not going to mess with me. And so at that point, it really increases the bitterness in the leaves, in the root, in the flowers, all the parts of it. So if you can get it as a baby, when it's kind of meant to be sacrificial so that the, you know, some can survive, it's going to have a lower bitterness. Once the flower appears,
and one of the things I've found is that the dandelion plants themselves, they respond to the pruning. When I pull the baby leaves out, they pop more up almost every day. It depends on the weather cycle.
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted your opinion on that. Let's go back to the chats because we have some good ones here. Yes, I air dry all my leaves. Just did mullein leaves. and learned something. I always learn from you, Mark, and have for years. Yeah, way to go, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. I thought I recognized your name. My tea water is not the hat, but I do. Oh, do chaga that. Oh, chaga is amazing.
Yeah,
Chaga,
yeah.
if you're taking chaga every day, that's an awesome thing to be doing. Or even just like 2, 3 times a week.
Got a wave high. Okay, we got Camelot's back in here. I never would have thought to mix it with something sour. Thank you for that hint.
Yeah, apple vinaigrette dressing, like an oil vinaigrette dressing, also is a really good thing. What can be done with the young curly dock? So when the leaves are young and small, mix those with the dandelion because the young leaves have a tangy, lemony, sour flavor that will help hide the bitterness of the dandelions. Once they're the length of your hand, cut that center vein out and then cook them up kind of like mustard greens. So like in some bacon grease and some garlic, and they're really good that way, or throw them in curry. This time of year, especially in Texas now, you'll have the heads with all the little seeds on it. Those seeds are, technically they're not a grain, but they're an edible seed. Scientifically, to be considered a grain, you have to come from a grass. But the seeds of the curly dock are high protein. They're a bit bitter again, but you collect those, roast them, remove the husks, grind them into a gluten-free flour. There are some really good cracker recipes for curly seed dock flour out there, or just sprinkle them on breads and bagels, like an everything bagel, or boil them up and just mix them in with your oatmeal. If you remember the food grape nuts,
Yes.
kind of like that. So go use it.
Well, that's interesting. You know, again, back to my self-sufficient ways. I enjoy just taking the bulb. The curl dot grows in a bulb, and so there's this real juicy, almost ochreish type of a slimy bulb at the center of the plant on those baby leaves, and I really enjoy those.
And that slime is really good for controlling blood sugar. So any of the, whether it be okra or wild violets or chickweed or slippery elm or any of those, that plant mucilage is perfectly designed to grab onto and hold sugar so that it doesn't immediately go flying into your bloodstream.
Yeah, and that's why I commend you for being able to take the time. I've had times in my life where, you know, I've had people in my life when my children were younger and things, where I've cooked all kinds of things where I've included dandelion. But most of my things have been simple. I just like to put them in smoothies, teas, cut them up, like you said, and put them in scrambled eggs. You know, that's a way you can cook them lightly without overcooking and serve them to people. And like you said, serve them with something that'll create a contrast to help with the bitterness, like bacon or bacon grease.
Yep.
All right, so we got Terry here. Cool. Didn't know that. Thanks. I don't know what you're referring to exactly, but we are learning a lot today. So one of the other things I like to do with dandelion when the the mints are growing, little hen bits. I like to mix the hen bit with the dandelion. That if you're, you know, I don't know that it helps take the bitterness out as much, but it definitely
dilutes it some. You know, you just, and the one of the ways of dealing with bitterness is just dilute it so you don't get as much.
Yeah,
that's why, you know, a lot of cocktails, they have the bittering agent in there because humans, we like it in small doses.
Yeah.
You know, our body recognizes, hey, there's something here.
Well, that hen bit's a funny little plant because those little purple leaves, they have a sweetness to them that's similar to like a honeysuckle.
Yep.
And so those are the ones that I try to get, or just when I eat a hen bit, I don't eat the whole thing. You know, I just get that one little tiny top with the most purple little flowers on them.
Right. Yep. You know, they're filled with nectar to try and attract the bees to spread the pollen.
Hey, and thank you, because I was meant to mention that earlier when you were talking about how nature is assisted by us enjoying, the outdoors and foraging. Because one of the obstacles that I come up against today when sharing the health benefits of dandelion are robbing the bees of their pollen. And I try to tell people they can't hear me. It's one of these weird things. But no, I actually propagate the dandelion. I
Hmm.
promise. I'm like dandelion apple seed. The bees are thankful. I got that.
Yep.
Not only that, the bees are friendly. You can pet them, while you pick your dandelion.
Yep. Goldenrod is another great one for
Hey,
that
thank
because
you here in Texas.
yeah, all across North America again, because the goldenrod, the leaves, they're really good medicine and really nice flavored spice to add to foods. And like right now, if you prune the top, like the top 4 inches, and
Hmm.
cut that off and dry the leaves and use it for food and medicine, the plant will now produce up to 5 new stalks and produce 5 times as many flowers in the fall as it did if you had just let it grow normally. So by harvesting the goldenrod respectfully, taking just the top 3 inches, before the end of July, you will greatly increase the flowers for the bees. And one of the things about goldenrod is that across most of North America, it is the last source of nectar for the bees. That's where when they're trying to get ready for that long winter, when there are no
Uh-huh.
flowers, they want as many goldenrods around as possible because that's their last chance to stock up. And by quadrupling the number of flowers out there, you're helping the bees.
Wow, that's excellent. All right. What about some of the other common things here in Texas, like the milk thistle? How
Ooh.
edible is that flower?
Okay, so the flower itself not very edible. What you really want to do is let the flower go on and produce seeds because the seeds are amazingly good at repairing liver damage.
Mhm.
However, all the different thistles, true thistles across Texas, the root is quite edible. Think of it as like a parsnip.
Okay.
So you just pull the thistle out of the ground, chop off the root, peel it, chop it up into chunks, and throw it in your soup or your stew. As they get older, some of the thistle roots can be a bit woody, but they still have a good flavor. So you cut them into longer strips. Basically, chew it. If it's like chewing on a popsicle stick, what you want to
Yeah.
do there is cut it into pieces that look like popsicle sticks, long, thin, narrow. Throw them in the soup, the stew, let them simmer there for a while to impart their flavor into the food, and then pull them out before serving.
And remember,
But
not all roots are the same. Like, for example, dandelion roots, you can get some younger plants with just a real tender root that'll almost melt in your
Mhm.
mouth. And then
Oh
you can
yeah,
get some other plants, other root, that, is stringy, like you said.
yeah. So, and the younger the root is, usually the more tender it's going to be.
There you go. All right. And then, so are you comfortable talking about that Texas wild lettuce and even the possibility of it being an opiate substitute? Or maybe a better way to phrase that would be do you know anything about Texas wild lettuce actually being used and beneficial for discomfort?
Yes, actually, quite a bit. And let me start by saying comparing it to opiates is very wrong.
Thank you.
It's not as powerful. It's a completely different molecule, completely different mechanism. Really, what if you were going to compare it to something, it would be similar somewhat in mechanism to aspirin,
Okay.
where basically it just interferes with the pain cells nerve, the nerves of the that signal the pain, passing the signal from nerve to nerve.
Okay.
So, but it's one
Now,
that,
is that more like a Valium then?
no, it'd be like aspirin. It'd be
Yeah.
like aspirin. But it is one that we have not built up as much of a tolerance for. So most people that are dealing with chronic pain or even, temporary pain, they're popping aspirin, they're taking aspirin. There's heart benefits from aspirin. But over time, the body builds up tolerance.
Got it.
The water lettuce would be like maybe taking aspirin for the very first time.
Gotcha.
Where it's like, whoa, it's working great. Yeah, because the body is going, this is brand new to it. It's exciting. Well, I don't want to use the term exciting, but it's like, it's new. It doesn't have the enzymes in place yet to get rid of it quickly. So it's going to hang around longer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of the side effects that you get from the other synthetic and semi-synthetic pain relievers.
So there you go. I mean, that's sufficing enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely, if you have chronic pain, and definitely try it, because you will be surprised by the results.
Yeah, or, at least look into it. That's what this is all about. You can definitely do the research and come to the conclusions for yourself.
Yep.
So Terry says, thanks for saying that, Mark. I've tried for years to tell people that.
Yep. And there's so much misinformation, in social media and so forth about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why someone like you, who's actually a trained, educated chemist, is so important, And, it's not by fluke that many of us were drawn to you 10 years ago when you first started doing this, and have at least kept up with you to some extent throughout these years. So tell me about your book. How is this book doing? It's called Foraging. It's the out adventures. Oh my goodness, I can't read it.
It's the Outdoor Adventures Guides Foraging.
Thank you.
By DK Publishing, Penguin Random House. And
now this is kind of new, right?
Yeah, so this one came out in 2022.
Okay.
But so it has like the range map showing where in North America you're going to find it, multiple pictures, information, how to use it, all this. And one of the things that makes this book different than a lot of the others is in the back, there is a calendar.
Okay.
Depending on if you're in the south, if you're in the central part of the North America, if you're up in Minnesota and heading off into Canada, when are you going to find those plants? Because they show up. A lot of the summertime weeds of like where I grew up in Minnesota are summertime weeds down here in the south.
Yeah.
And so most of the foraging books were written by people up in the north.
Right.
And they say, yeah, look for it in the summer. It's like, no, that's not when you're going to find it down here. We are very different time-wise, but not ecosystem-wise.
Yeah.
And so we have the ecosystems that these plants like, but during the summer it's too hot. They show up during the winter months.
Man, that is a great idea. I've long said that some of these bands, that are out touring in their bands and playing small clubs and half starving to death, this would be a great resource for them. They could pick it up. Oh, we're in Kansas. Oh, look, we can go forage.
Yeah. And I will say one unfortunate thing is the publisher did not want me to put medicinal information in it. They thought that would be a liability. So, but if you go to the Foraging Texas website, that book only has 72 plants in it. The Foraging Texas website has over 250 plants and mushrooms. And even though it says Foraging Texas in the title, 90 or more % of those plants are found all across North America. And like in the book, I have the range maps showing where in North America the plants will be found and when. So if you don't buy the book, which would earn me money, and I would love you to buy the book, you can go to my website, which has all this information for free.
Now, can we buy the book on the website also?
Not right now, but I'm setting that up. Originally, you would buy it through the Medicine Man Plant Co. website,
right?
But it's no longer available there. So it is on Amazon, but again, I don't get that much from them. So
right. Okay. Well, everybody
will have on my website to purchase it.
That's right. Go to the website, get that set up so everybody can purchase that
Yep.
and purchase all your merch over there. And also schedule your teaching classes.
Yeah.
Hey,
I make a
before I let
great
you
birthday
go,
present.
what's that?
I make a great birthday present.
I bet you do.
I've had a lot of people, like, wives and stuff, or husbands have, oh, this sounds bad, given me to their wives as a birthday present.
Right.
I could spend, time with them exploring their land, or grandparents have given it to their kids because the grandparents, they used to know this stuff, but they don't really remember it anymore, and just wanted a professional to show them.
How often do you do that? Because I would think that you would have more people or more interest from people who have property and want to know what all these different plants are.
A lot. This time of year when it's so damn hot down here in Texas, it
Yeah.
kind of dies off. But fall, winter, spring, weekly, I'm out somewhere.
Yeah.
Homeschool groups, church groups, scout groups. Anyone who wants to spend time. I did a class there's an archery shop here, and so I did a class for all the hunters there.
Yeah. Oh, I know. What about beer? You were involved in some craft brewing of a couple of years ago. Did you actually get
Yeah.
involved in crafting brew?
Yeah, so that was Vista Brewing up in Dripping Springs. I worked with them. And again, another one of the COVID casualties. They're still around, but they stopped bringing me in for the classes.
Yeah.
But then a number of other, not just brews, but also distilleries and so forth I've worked with. The Real Spirits, I helped them develop the Texas gin. Chartreuse, if you're familiar with chartreuse. It's a liqueur made by Trappist monks up in the Alps.
Okay.
It has
Yeah.
150 different herbs in it.
Wow.
And there's only one distributor of it in North America. And they had me do some classes with bartenders, not with chartreuse, but they had all these different alcohols, but developing different, what we call only here, only now cocktails, where I go out with the bartenders, we pick some plants that were available just there at that time, and bring them in, and we would make cocktails out of them, and they really like that. And some that went on to enter these cocktails in contests and so forth. So yeah, distilleries, breweries, reach out. I have if you're into brewing beer, you might know Stan Harmonious. And he wrote a book called Local Brewing, which was about all the different types of beers that we used to make in America that weren't, rice or wheat, barley, and water and yeast.
Right.
Pretty much every starchy seed was used to make a beer. And so the portion of the book, Local Brewing by Stan Harmonious, on using different wild plants for either the source grain or the bittering agent was written by me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that more of the craft beer, I'm assuming it's a liability issue again. They can't just go out and get a bunch of weeds out of a field and come make brew out of it and serve it. And the health code officials might.
Yeah. So, yeah, according to the FDA, you can't serve to the public anything that has plants or mushrooms in it where these plants and mushrooms are not found on what's called the GRAS list, GRAS, generally recognized as safe. And so that is a problem because there's a lot of stuff on it, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't.
Where did that come from?
Well, so it's been developed over time with that Texas gin that I made. One of the components in there was bottle brush, not on the GRAS list, but we were able to submit enough documentation, proof of consumption, proof that has been used by many cultures
All right.
as inanimate. and we were able to get it added to the list. But it was
Wow.
time-consuming and a lot of work, and not a lot of fun.
Thank you for doing it, though, because that seems like a tremendous uphill battle. And when I asked you about it, I felt, like, oh, here I go into the, into my utopian, idealistic world, But you
So
actually have
learn to brew your own beer.
Huh?
Yeah. Learn to brew your own beer, or the easiest, learn to make your own mead. That's by far the easiest alcohol to make.
Your own mead?
Mead, yep. Honey, yeast, water, and then whatever else you want to throw in there.
Yep, yep. Well, again, I confess I've never crafted beer myself, so I'm illiterate about it. But I'm interested, My main thing is I take care of my grandson full time, and before that, I was a musician. I'm actually a recording artist, so I spent 100% of my time doing that. And that was after raising my family, and I had to teach myself music in my 40s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of the benefits of eating dandelion for 30 years. My brain works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm 100% convinced I can do anything that I can put my time to. And then from there, I can do anything that I had the money to buy my way into. The problem is I don't have my money to buy my way anywhere. But I have a beautiful grandson. So, hey, how about your family? I know that you've been so gracious to be here with us, Mark. Thank you so much. And I assume that there's going to be a couple of people watching that know about you and care about you, want the best for your family, and remember your daughter being involved in the donut shop at the end of the world. So how is your family doing? And what can we expect from you in the future?
Oh, so my older daughter, most people who know her as Merriwether.
Yeah, Merriwether.
Last week, I did a cannonball run to Colorado and back to move her fiance in with us so they can hunt for jobs down here rather than up in Colorado. Because, so if anyone out there has a tie into the video game industry, I got two excellent people for you. Jack Krause, my future son-in-law, and of course, Kiki, my daughter. Then my younger daughter, I'm expecting her to walk through the door at any point. Oh, there she is.
There.
So,
well, I don't know what they do with video games, but I do know a guy named Philip Wolberry who just released the new Dragon How to Train a Dragon video game.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
He worked on a team and did all that, together with a team. It's a pretty big deal. So anyway, anybody?
My younger daughter that just came in, she's a ballerina. Normally she's over in Barcelona, but she's home for 2 weeks on a break. So I'm pretty excited to have her.
All right. You were so kind to be so patient with me. Hey, before I let you go, can I introduce you to Dr. Siren Pandi?
Yeah.
Just graphically wise here. Basically, being a person who's consumed dandelions, specifically, I'm not foraging Texas like Mark is. I just admire you for being able to do all the things that you do and then actually doing it. But, we're always looking for science to back up the things that we eat, and meaning the dandelion in this case. And so back in, what was it, about 2005, Dr. Siren Pandi did a TED talk talking about how a kid brought a dandelion root into his chemistry class. He's a chemistry professor at Windsor University, Mark. And the kid took the dandelion root in a couple of drops of water, put it in the petri dish with the cancerous blood cells. And Dr. Siren tells you in this TED talk, but he also told me personally, he says, Rick, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. The cancers, it's called apoptosis. The sustenance in the dandelion root was able to trigger the cancerous blood cells to die off the way they naturally would otherwise. And that process is called apoptosis.
Yep. Programmed to death.
Yeah, so he's gone from there to where he's from India, so he works with the Indian government. Holding in his hand is the Indian long bean, and he's found that fruit to also have the same effects, as well as many other things like lemongrass. Lemongrass is a big one that he's working on.
I can believe it. Nature is filled with compounds. It's really interesting. A lot of these compounds are to protect the plants, because the plant, they can't run, so they have to fight. And it turns out a lot of those fighting compounds can fight a lot of things.
Bro, you're amazing, man, because it's that combination of your actual knowledge, like you know the science, you know the chemicals, you know, that's amazing in itself. But you have this country wiseism, man. You're able to put that stuff together so practically. I love you for it.
That was always my gift. I could explain really concepts, ideas, so that management could actually understand it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, thank you so much for spending time together with us here at Dandelion TV. Please do come back, as in the very near future, I'm going to have Dr. Siren Pandey on multiple times. He's also bringing on other scientists in the field of dandelion research and some friends. So that's pretty much what made me turn the curve with Dandelion TV. The other thing about him is that he did do the research. Because this happened, he raised the money independently, Mark, and he had the test done on the petri dishes, on animals, and on humans. And he has the science, and I have the science. This man is so gracious and so kind that he gave me millions of dollars worth of scientific information on dandelion.
Cool.
And so that's the thing, is that he's going to be on here and helping get the information out about the health benefits of dandelion from a scientific resource.
Nice.
And I will definitely keep you, in the loop. I'll stay in touch with you as long as you don't mind. And anytime you would like to come back and befriend Dr. Siren Pandey or any of these scientists, I feel like I'm the lucky guy here. I really do. But I also feel like I'm kind of a networker, if you will. And it's pretty obvious to me that you and someone like Dr. Siren Pandey and the other doctors and scientists that we will have on Dandelion TV, together we can actually accomplish a lot.
Yep. My dad always said, the more people you know, the luckier you will be. And I mean, it's true, because you make those connections that open doors. So thank you for opening the door for me. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, let's do it again. Not only can you come back on and talk to some of these doctors and scientists if you have time, but anytime you want to come on just to promote your upcoming events to help get people out to sign up. Anytime you want to come on, just let me know and we'll get it lined up. Okay, Mark?
I got your phone number now, so we're good.
Okay, I'll try to be cool with you. I'm just going to send you emails to stay in touch. But if I need you, I know how to get you.
Yep.
All right, bro. Well, thank you again. I hope you have the best of the evening. Camelot says, thank you for having him on, and thank you, Dr. Mark, for all that you provide to our foraging communities. Absolutely.
The Texas coin is offering a mining shares. You can buy a mining share in the mine. The shares last for 36 years. You get a deposit of Texas coin crypto every night. They use these computers called miners that generate and make the coins that are then sold on the exchange. When you buy a mining share, you're getting an equal percentage of those coins that are being made every day through those mines deposited into your wallet. Digital currency, being inherently valuable, tangible, something you could hold, can also hold value. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. Crypto is a stored value that can be used later. Money is going to be something that is inserted into a smartphone, stored value that can be used for the goods and services that you really want. Bitcoin used by 54 million around the globe. Our whole world exists on our digital peer-to-peer currency concept that was given to us in 2008. We have for the very first time the ability to take back control of the currency out of the hands of the banks. That's a really profound thing, to remove the banker from the conversation of